Yeah, Andrew Hau is my name. I'm a passionate football fan and I'm a passionate football statistician. I do a lot of stats for Australian soccer, Australian football. Have been doing that for 25 years. I recently published my first book, Encyclopedia of Socceruz, and also have a role as the official statistician for the FFA. Socceruz have a really fascinating history in terms of the backgrounds of the players and the history of those backgrounds. In many ways, the history of the Socceruz reflects the history of Australia in terms of its migration and settlement patterns. When Australia played its first game 100 years ago, around 1 in 4 of the national team were overseas born, and that's the same proportion as the Australian population, around 1 in 4. And since then, there's been a real a strong correlation between the men's national team and the Australian population in terms of those overseas born. But of course, majority of the team are Australian born and they come from all parts of the country. It's over the almost 100-year history of the Socceruz. It's been between 30 and 40 nationalities. They're still looking at the backgrounds of some of the older players, but certainly some very strong numbers there.
And what about the national soccer leagues?
Yeah, the National Soccer Leagues, that's a real fascinating one too. First men's National League season was in 1977. And in 41 years now of the Men's National League, we've had almost 90 different nationalities. There's also been interesting to mention with the Women's National League. It's been going for 10 years now. A lot of different nationalities with the Women's National League as well. Traditionally, Australia's strong links with the United Kingdom means that, and their love for the game in the UK and Ireland, means that traditionally it's the British and the Scots, the English and the Scots. From World War II, from the mid 20th century, we see that influence of especially the Southern and Eastern Europeans, the Italians, the Greeks, the Croatians, the Serbs, the Macedonians. As a proportion of their population, it's those nationalities. I'll say it again: the Italians, the Greeks, Croatians, Serbians, and the Macedonians, which have contributed generally more than other nationalities. But yeah, there is a wide spectrum of nationalities there. Other Eastern European countries, and a little bit of influence from other parts of the world.
What about the former Soviet republics? Have there been any players from those parts?
There have been only a couple of players from the former Soviet republics, and that I guess partly reflects that traditionally there's not a huge number of people born in that part of the world that are Australian residents now. Nick Sokolov, he played in the late 50s for Australia, played one game. He came from, his family from Russia via China, interestingly. And he went on to have a great career in Australia as both a player and a coach. Nikita Rukovitsa, who's a current Socceroo, Ukraine-born, he's a prominent player as well from the former Soviet republics. That's a really good question, though. But how will the Australian team look at the future? Because there has been a recent shift in demographics of younger players. A lot of African-born players now are coming through the national leagues and the national youth teams. So it'll be really interesting to look at the senior team in a handful of years to see if there are more of those from the African countries. The biggest source countries now of total migration for Australia is the Indians and the Chinese. Now, traditionally, football is moderately strong over there, but certainly not as strong as those other countries that Australia has had people from those countries come to Australia. So it'll be really interesting to see if those Eastern and Southern Asian groups take on the game in the future in Australia. Okay, I'm working on a few projects, but the key one now is the Encyclopedia of Matildas. Okay, so we finally have the Encyclopedia of the men's national team. Next year is the 40th anniversary of the first official game by the women's national team. We also have the Matildas in the 2019 Women's World Cup in France. So a really good opportunity, a good time to launch, to release the Encyclopedia of Matildas.